Good morning, everyone. I am Trish Lindo, and welcome to Too Ambitious. I am so happy that everyone is joining me this morning. If you are joining, I want to show you, give me some love in the comments. I want to see some heart emojis. Tell me where you're joining from because, I know that you could be anywhere with me today, but you're probably joining me from somewhere extravagant, like the Caribbean or Hawaii or something like that. At least that's what I think in my mind. So let me know where you're joining me from. Today, I'm super excited to have an extraordinary guest on the show. And first of all, if this is your first time joining the show, this is a show that celebrates Black women and women of color entrepreneurs who are changing the world. They're changing the game. These women are change makers. They're innovative, they're resilient, and they are, of course, as you probably guess, very, very ambitious. So let me tell you who I have today. You are absolutely just going to be like, stop, because that's what I said. Okay, today on the show, I have the great Dr. Tana M. Session. She is the CEO founder of TanaMSession.com that focuses on organizational development and human resources consulting. Now, Dr. Tana is a certified women minority business enterprise with over 30 years of human resources experience. She is an award-winning consultant, executive performance coach, best-selling author, and recognized inclusion, diversity, and multi-generational thought leader. Yes, all of that. Dr. Tana is a change maker. She has spent 10 years leading change initiatives for domestic and international organizations. She's also a LinkedIn learning instructor, and she recently earned the 2024 Doctors of Excellence Honoree Award by Black Leaders Worldwide. So I know, and I could go on. She's that amazing. So I want you guys to show her some love. I want to see all the screens light up with the heart emojis. Welcome, 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 Dr. Tana, to Too Ambitious.
Thank you, Trish. Yay! I finally made it.
You did it. You did it. I am so excited that you're here. And look, Tish Bell is saying excited. You
Oh,
look
Trish.
amazing. Thank you, Tish. We both were bringing it today. So thank you. So Dr. Tana, we've got 30 minutes to learn all the amazing things that you're doing to put some light back out in the world. So let's get started. Why don't we let you take the stage for a little bit, kind of share a little bit about what you do and all the extraordinary things that you do. I mean, maybe not all of them because we would do the whole show, but tell me a little bit about how the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I actually, in addition to what you listed, having over 30 years of human resources experience, I tell people I've probably held every position in HR that you can imagine, with the exception of benefits and payroll. Those are two things that I was adamant I did not want to do and I stay away from, even as a consultant. So I tell my clients those are the two things I don't do. And, running my own company now for, 10 years, I celebrated my 10-year anniversary back in April. And it's been what a ride. I remember when I left corporate, with my knees shaking and, a little sweat under the arm, thinking like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. And fortunately, I haven't had to look back. So it's been a fantastic journey. And, with the support of family and friends and lots of sweat equity and crying tears, at night and having to continue to bet on myself every single day. And, with support of people like yourself, you've definitely been part of that journey. It's been fantastic. And I've had great opportunities to partner with some wonderful companies, great CEOs, great HR leaders that have, brought me in to work with them, partner with them in their diversity work and HR consulting work and get and go behind the curtains, plenty of companies. It's been fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've watched your journey for some years now, and in addition to I know it's being a journey, it's so inspiring, to see everything that you continue to do. But I'm also curious though, is how did you get started? 10 years in, what was it that happened that made you say, you know what, it's time for me to go and start my own business?
It's funny you asked that question because I posted something and I was hesitant to post it, but it was in response to a post that actually someone put up, and it was about, why people start their journey. And I was very candid about why I started. And I said it was dealing with microaggressions. It was dealing with code switching. It was dealing with not getting recognition for the work that I put in, not getting paid fairly, getting pushed up against the ceiling and, not getting recognized and not getting the promotions that I knew I worked really hard for. And, being walked over and talked over and all of the things that, people who look like me tend to experience. And yeah, I experienced being the chief human resource officer, the VP of HR, all of those things that I really work hard to get, but not really having the power that came with the title. And once I, moved from company to company and still experiencing those things, I realized the only way for me to really get my power back was to start my own company. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. When I think about a lot of my peers who started their own company, the conversations that we have in our own private chat rooms, that's why we started our companies, especially a lot of Black women.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it too is to, kind of take charge of your own journey, and not have it in somebody else's hands,
Exactly.
So what was the hardest part for you when you started the business? And did you know this was the direction that you wanted to go in?
The hardest part was giving up what we deem to be the security of a paycheck, right? So that's the part that kind of keeps us stuck. And, I was talking to someone who would ask me the same question, like, how did you get the confidence? How did you know that this will work? Well, I didn't, and I didn't have the confidence.
Right.
It was a risk, and it was really, truly stepping out on faith. And, I talked to my husband and I talked to my son. He was in college. And, I said, look, this is what I want to do. Our lives are going to change because of it. I need to know that you all are along for the ride and that I have your support. And the first thing they said was, we want you to be happy, like whatever that means and whatever that looks like, we're here for it. And so that was part of it too, was just having that inner village and that support of them that gave me the confidence to know that I could do this. And they saw stuff in me that I didn't see in myself as well. So that was helpful. And so that kind of put the wind underneath my wings to give me the confidence to do it. But I was also kind of strategic. I took a 3-month leave of absence. So that way I did kind of have that security where I could go back if I needed to.
Right.
But I also gave myself a challenge. And I said, look, Tana, if you don't have your first client, your first speaking engagement, or your first book written. So I gave myself 3 goals. And I said, if you don't have one of those 3 things done within these 3 months, where, you don't have these other distractions of a job and, emails and strategy meetings and emergencies and all these things happening that you have to deal with, then you need to go back to work. And so I was able to do all 3 of those things within those 3 months. And that to me was the universe speaking, saying, okay, there's something here for you. Now that you don't have these distractions, you know that you can do this. So keep going. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I love when the universe gives you some signs like, hey, you're on the right track. You're like, thank you, God.
Exactly.
Because, you're out here walking on faith.
Yep. I removed all the excuses that I was giving myself.
Yeah. And so, those first few years, was it all just you solopreneuring or,
Yes.
and then if you would, at what point did you say, okay, it's time to bring in people because I need help?
I didn't bring on my first team member until 2019.
Okay.
And I remember I was so scared to do it, but I knew I needed to do it. But I was so scared to do it, but I knew I needed to do it. and the reason I was so scared. And I remember I had a mentor, a business mentor, and it was someone I had been working with for a couple of years. I started working with him in 2017, and he had took me out to lunch, and he said, Tana, where do you see your business going? Like, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I want to grow. I want to scale. Like, these are things I want to do. And he said, if you could stop doing anything in your business, because he's a serial entrepreneur. He said, if you could stop doing anything in your business, what would it be? And I said, I would stop doing my emails, my calendar, my travel. And he said, okay, well, that sounds like you need an assistant. And he said, so I have someone in mind. She's a great young lady. I've worked with her before. I want to introduce you to her. And I said, okay. And I said, well, the thing I'm worried about is having someone all up in my business and they're going to see all my client information and that's risky. And he said, well, you can't have it both ways. And he said, so either you're going to scale and you're going to get rid of these administrative duties, or you're going to continue doing these things, you're never going to scale.
Yeah.
And I said, but they're going to know how much money I'm making. And, I was making all these, again, excuses, right?
Excuses, yeah.
And so when I met her and I interviewed her and I really adored her, and I said, okay, I'm going to slowly let her start doing things and just try her out and see how it goes. And I did. And she's still with me today, 5 years in, she's still with me. She's my operations manager. I can't imagine doing my life without her. And it was the best decision of my life. And I've been able to scale and grow. And we have another team member, and we've grown the business ever since.
Oh my God. And just that decision to just trust and let go and let her look at your finances.
Let her in my business. Right.
I don't need to know. She don't need to know nothing,
Yeah. And now she knows everything.
And you're totally fine with it. You're like,
I'm totally fine with it. It was the best decision ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I know a lot of the work that you do is in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. You're a practitioner, you're an advocate, and I read your newsletter. And so I know you've said in your May LinkedIn newsletter, and you can, I know, I was going deep. Okay. You says DIB is a commitment to dismantling barriers of access and fostering a workplace culture that actively nurtures equality and equity. It's no secret that DEI is being rolled back in corporate and organizations. So, with that said, what steps have you taken with your business to continue pushing forward the need for equality and equitable work environments? Because I know that's a big part of your business.
I've just stayed the course. Yeah. I haven't let the news, I haven't let fear take us off course. Yeah. I continue to talk about it just as bold as I did back in 2020, just as bold as I did back when I started this work in 2007. I've seen the ebbs and flows of it. So I don't get scared when I hear, what people are saying about it in terms of the backlash. And now I admit this is the worst I've seen in terms of the backlash and the negativity. I've never seen it that way. And I know why, because Black lives were centered since 2020, right? So that's never been the case before. Before we were more focused on, putting women in leadership, and, the conversations have been different since the murder of George Floyd. And I think that's made a lot of people nervous. Yeah. But I think what people have to realize, and I just put a post up when I saw that the Fearless Fund was able to get their case dismissed.
Yes.
That persistence is key. Consistency is key. So you can't waffle in this work, and you can't let the waves and the winds blow you and show that, you're not standing strong, right? Your roots have to grow deep and wide in this work. And that's what I've been doing since 2007. And so that's what my work has been. That's the work that I stand firm in. And my clients know that, and they see that. And that's what they depend on me to be able to guide them in that as well, to keep them steadfast, consistent, make certain that their message are aligned with the work that they're doing, so their employees can feel that as well.
Yeah. And I know that, a lot of corporations and organizations are pulling back from doing the work, as they say. What are you seeing from your perspective? Are organizations, kind of still dismantling, or are organizations like, yeah, we're going to keep going?
I think the ones that were not sincere, the ones that were just there to be performative, they are. But the ones that were really consistent, and the ones that were really wanting to have change deep and part of the DNA of their culture, realized that this was a marathon, and knew that they were going to have to stick and stay with this work, and knew that they were going to have to put the money, the resources, people, time, and money behind it, and that it was going to have to be for the long run. Those that did like 5-year plans, they're coming up on their 5-year anniversary in 2025. They're seeing the work, they're seeing the progress of that work. Those are the ones that I'm celebrating. Those are the ones that we should be talking about. But they're also the ones that are moving in silence. They're not the ones that are out in the news, and that's okay, right? But if you do your research, you'll find that there's more of those companies than the ones that are in the headlines.
Right. And I think sometimes too, we tend to listen to the loudest voices, and they're usually wrong.
Yeah, they're clickbait, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, that's clickbait. I'm not paying them any attention.
Yeah, we're not paying attention to that, What, in your professional opinion, how do we move forward, especially as we consider the future of work and, what does that look like? We know that, we've got Gen Y is coming up, they have completely different thoughts on how they want to work and how the world they want to live in. So what's your perspective on how we move forward in the future of work?
Well, what excites me is that the average CEO's age is 54, 55, which is my age, by the way. I'm 55 years old. Hey, Gen X.
Hey.
Gen X is now in control.
Yeah.
Okay. Move over boomers.
Yep.
And I think that we have a different perspective in terms of what leadership looks like because we understand that the next generation of workforce, Gen Y and now Gen Z, who, by the way, are outnumbering the boomers in the workforce, they are changing the dynamics of what the workforce looks like. They're changing the dynamics of what work looks like. And they're also changing the dynamics of what diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging expectations are. They just have a different expectations of what they want to show up to work for and what they want and expect from leaders. And as a result of that, they are actually changing the conversation. And so the leaders that aren't kind of moving the needle in the right direction are going to struggle with not only recruiting, but retaining that workforce. So it's okay for those that are out there that are speaking negatively about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. That's fine. You got the biggest microphone, maybe even the biggest wallets right now. But where you're going to struggle is with recruiting and retention. And so they are really looking at this through a very small and narrow lens. And they're looking at it through a very narrow, a very short distance. They're not looking at it through the long lens. And so I think that's where the short focus is. And what I'm looking forward to is to see what this will look like over the next half of this decade. Because that to me is where the interesting factor is going to come into play is as this next generation, especially Gen Z, as they get older and they start moving into leadership, that's when we're really going to see the change.
Yes. And then stepping into their power,
Exactly.
Yeah. And voting as well. So change will happen whether you want it or not. It's coming, so now, Dr. Tana, I love your podcast, so I'm just going to just share, right? So you've got your podcast. It's called Stop Being Your Best Kept Secret, which, I'm assuming is inspired by your best-selling book, Working While Black, A Woman's Guide to Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. Now, tell me who or what inspired you to write the book and obviously launch the podcast, because I love the title, first of all.
Thank you. So the book was really inspired by a couple of things. One, I, wanted to be able to share kind of what my journey was in corporate America, but in particular, Dr. Lois Frankel. She was the one really that encouraged me to write the book. So she wrote the book, Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. And I sat on the board of her nonprofit for about a year and a half. And, she and I were having a conversation and she said, Tana, oftentimes, I have women of color, in particular Black women, that come to me and they ask me for advice on, how to navigate corporate America and how to kind of, get through these challenges that they're experiencing in the workplace. And she said, I can give them my advice, but as a white woman, my experience is very different. I think someone like you should write this book that really shows them and gives them a guidance. She said, because I've kind of looked at your journey and you share with me your experience. And I think you have a story to tell. And I was like, ooh, put myself out there like that? I don't know. And she said, no, I think you should. I think it's only fair because you can have a perspective that I think is important to share. And so not only did I share my journey, but I was able to talk to other Black women, both career-oriented as well as entrepreneurs. And I was also I wanted a global perspective. So I was able to interview Swati Mandela, who is the granddaughter of Winnie and Nelson Mandela, to understand what are the challenges that other Black women have experienced and how did they then navigate it. And I was able to use the formulation that I did through my coaching program. So I have a coaching program called Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. And it talks about how to own your power, your worth, your destiny, your healing. And from there, we talked about what was strategies that they use in those different pillars
Right.
to navigate and then ultimately, find their destiny. And so
Yeah.
that was the premise behind the book.
Ah, and I think there's some people who did not know that you had a podcast. We got Renee Lindo saying, "Ooh, let me get on that podcast." Yes, yes, Renee, I love it. You interview some really incredible people who are sharing their stories and about their journeys as well. And you realize that we're all a lot more similar,
Exactly.
yeah, than we realize. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
And then also too, you're a best-selling author. I mean, you have other books as well. You've got Get Your Career Life in Order. You
Yep.
have the Little Book of Motivation and Inspiration, Sharing the Journey.
Yeah.
When you set out to write your books, did you think you were going to write this many books and it
Nope.
be well, okay? You must like writing books,
I don't know about that. And I've had some people tell me, you have another book in you with all the stuff you've done. I was like, no, I don't. I'm tapped out. And they're like, no, you got another book coming. I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. And everybody, you can find all of her books on Amazon and other booksellers. So, if you're interested in learning more about Dr. Tana's work and how she's thinking and how she can help you, get your career life in order, be sure to check this out. So thank you for that. The other thing I also want to talk about too, I saw you in person. What was it? Maybe like a year and a half ago or something like that. And you were like, oh, so, I'm getting ready to start law school just casually. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Tell me how far are you in and why did you decide to go to law school, Dr. Tina? Please tell us.
I know. I'm officially a 3L. So next December, I will be completing my law school journey. I'm scheduled to take the bar in February 2026. I will be 57 years old when I do that.
Yes.
I am the oldest person in my class. Some of the students call me auntie. And I'm okay with that. As long as
Fine. Yep.
Mama or grandma, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the journey has been very interesting. It's something, Trish, that I've been wanting to do for probably 15 years, honestly. But I was married, divorced, was a single mom, had to get my son through school, college, grew my career in corporate and started a business. So all of these other milestones that came along that kind of pushed that desire and journey further and further away. And then I finally, in 2022, every year for my birthday, I try to do something as a new challenge for what I call my new year. And so for my new year in 2022, I turned to my husband and I said, I think I know what I want to do for my birthday this year to challenge myself. And he's like, what? And I was like, I'm going to apply to law school. And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, I feel like I'm in a good space in my business and just in life. And I feel like I can focus the time and, everything. And I could be selfish. I could be selfish right now and do what I need to do to really do this. And I talked to my team. I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And I said, I'm going to have to be selfish with my time. I'm going to have to condense my schedule. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. We're here for it. We'll support you. And then actually one of my team members was motivated. So they went back to school and they're in a master's program right now. So yeah, it's been great. And last year I made the dean's list. I got a 3.83. Yay!
Okay, all right.
So yeah, so I'm excited. I'm actually going full time so I can, get through as fast as I can this last year. So I'm excited. It's been a journey.
Incredible. And the fact that you're on the dean's list, that means that you're not playing any games.
I'm not playing any games. No. My focus will be civil rights, which a lot of people thought it would be employment law. But I said after 30 plus years in HR, I said, I feel like I know enough about employment law to be dangerous. So, I'm kind of good there.
Yeah.
I can always learn more, but I can get that after I pass the bar.
Yeah.
But no, civil rights. And I think it kind of leads in terms of the work that I do and where my passion is. And one of the things that really motivated me to go get my law degree, I remember reading a quote years ago, which really sparked my interest in the law. And it said, if you are mad about the law, go to law school. And I'm hella
Mm.
mad about the law right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. I mean, at the end of the day, that's how the real change is made, right? Is
exactly.
changes those laws and
Exactly.
obviously, voting.
Yeah.
So, I love that you actually, took.
That's right.
So is it your goal to practice law when you're done too?
Yeah, I will. I
Okay.
will practice law. I will not be a litigator. That's not my
Okay.
goal.
Okay.
It's not to be in court.
Okay.
I will be transactional, but I will be in these streets looking to make change on the local level as well as on the state level in regards to laws, human rights laws, civil rights laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and we need all of that. So, thank you. We're always cheering you on, this work that you're doing. One of the things that I absolutely love about you is that you are absolutely fearless, right? At least you seem fearless.
I see this.
You're just like, I'm gonna do it, and whatever. I'm going for it, Where does that drive come from?
I was talking to my therapist about this one day.
I'm talking to my therapist then.
And what she told me is it's my way of nurturing myself.
Oh,
I share my story often. And so my first 4 years of my life, I was with a foster family, so I didn't grow up with my parents. And, I didn't meet my mom until I was 9 years old. And I
mhm.
think that's part of it, right? Is to look for that way of getting that maternal appreciation or love or, pat on the back, right? And saying, hey,
Yeah,
good job.
yeah.
And so I think that's my way of giving myself that pat to say, hey, good job, Tana. You did it. I knew you could. Like, I think that's, and she and I kind of unpacked that like over like a 3-month journey.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's what that is. Like, that's my way of nurturing myself, is to
Mm,
continue to be driven and just, set those goals for myself, achieve it, and then move on. But the problem with that is, Trish, is that I also don't give myself that time to celebrate it because
yeah.
I'm so focused on the next thing. And
Yep.
so that's where she's like, I need you to learn how to be still in that and
Yes.
celebrate it. So she's like, when you get this law degree, like, please don't go do anything else. Like, so that's what
Take
I'm
a
working.
break.
Take a break. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'll be good. I don't know. I'm gonna check in with you.
Well, and when we talk about you kind of pushing forward, another thing that you are doing absolutely fearless is that you're getting your pilot's license. Um, Tell me about that.
Oh, you got the picture. You are full of surprises.
Tell us about that.
So another thing, way back in my youth, I wanted to be a flight attendant.
Okay.
And I remember I was applied with Delta, and this was probably in the late 80s, early 90s, and they went on a hiring freeze. So I remember they flew me down to Atlanta, and this is back when you had to be weighed and all that stuff. And I passed all that stuff, right? And then they went on a hiring freeze. And I never went back and pursued it because I was living in New York. And by then I started working for Ernst & Young, and I was like growing my career. And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But every chance I can get, I love to fly. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking like one day, one day, one day. And so I remember thinking, why not just go get a pilot license? Now my husband's scared of this.
Right? I mean,
But
rightfully so.
I said, I'm just gonna look into it and see, see what it takes. And it doesn't really take a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Santa Monica and try it out. And if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. At least I could just go try it out. And
Yeah.
so they have this thing called a sports pilot license. And so you
Okay.
learn how to fly in a 2-seater plane.
Okay.
And you get to fly only during daylight hours, and it has to be at least 3 miles of visibility. And
Okay.
you do like 15 hours of flying with another certified flying instructor, or CFI they call it. And
Okay.
then you do 5 hours of flying by yourself, and then you have to do what they call cross country flying. I was like, I'm in. That's it. Sign me up. So yeah, here we are.
Wow. I mean, people are just blown away in the comments too. Tish Bell is saying this is ambitious. Yes, very much so, Tish. Renee is like, what? I tell you, we are just beginning. You're absolutely right, Renee.
Yeah.
Truly incredible what you are achieving and continue to achieve. As we wrap up here, which I'm bummed because I literally feel like I could talk to you easily for hours,
Right.
So I had another question in mind, but I just want to, I want to say this instead is what are three things that we all can do to pursue our goals or dreams? Because you seem to have that thing that you are just going for it, you are doing it. And a lot of us sometimes it's scary. You're sitting on this, you kind of feel like, okay, am I going to get in this race or not? But what would be the advice that you give to all of us who want to try something new, to make a change in their life? What is some advice that you can impart to us?
I would say start with one small thing first, right? That one small thing that scares you. It doesn't have to be something big like flying a plane.
Okay. Because I was nervous.
Don't do that. Don't start there. Start with that one small thing, right? Like I was talking to, like I'll say someone else earlier this week, and he was telling me like, oh, I was thinking about doing this book for 10 years. And I was like, start with one chapter, right? Just start with the one chapter. You don't have to do the whole book. Just start with the one chapter, or start with the outline, right? Just start somewhere. Just to give yourself that confidence that, hey, at least I did this. And then go back to it maybe a month later and write the next chapter. So just take that baby step, right? It's a saying I wrote on Instagram, and it said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the one step, right? So just start with that one step. So I would say that's the first thing, right? And that's kind of what I had to start doing, is just believing in myself with that first step. Those three challenges that I gave myself when I took those 3 months off. And each month I gave myself a goal to do. And that first month I did this, and I was like, oh, okay, I did it. Next month I gave myself another goal. So same thing, give yourself that one goal, that one small step to do. And then the next thing I would say is try and find yourself a support group, right? Mine was small. It's my son and my husband. As long as they believed in me and they were the wind beneath my wings, and I knew I could turn to them, I could be vulnerable, I could cry, and come to them when I was scared and didn't believe in myself. And they said, you could do it. And I know you can. And okay, good. I needed that push and that support. And okay, I got it. I'm ready. I can run the next lap, right? That you're going to need that, right? Even because especially as a solopreneur, and in my case, that's what it was. But whatever your case may be, you're going to need that support. It may not be a husband. It may not be a son. It may be a good friend. It may be a sister, a parent, whatever the case may be. You're going to need that. And then the next thing I would say is whatever your faith is, right? Have something that can ground you, right? It could be meditation. It could be listening to, a certain song that motivates you, or that, kind of lifts your spirit, or whatever that case may be. You're going to need that extra something, right, from the universe that gives you that spiritual support, that grounding, that calms you when your nerves are going all over the place. Even if it just makes you cry, there could be a release. Tears are a release. It doesn't mean that you're sad sometimes. Sometimes it just means like, I got to release this energy that's in my body. It's building up, and it's got to go somewhere. Let it go. Let it come out in tears. Sometimes people work it out. I like the box. That's how sometimes I get out my release of my energy, and sometimes it comes out in tears, whatever it is for you. But whatever that is, that spiritual energy that you need to have, that grounding, that would be the third thing I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thank you for that advice. And I'm sure many of us are writing that down. Do you consider yourself ambitious, Dr. Tana?
Absolutely. Probably more so than others, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the answer, but Well, I want to thank you so much for your time, Dr. Tana. I'm super grateful for this time that I got to share with you, and everyone who joined got to share with you. You are extraordinary and so inspiring and uplifting.
You too. It's been an honor and a pleasure. I love watching your journey. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for sharing me with your audience. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And just for last, just tell us where we can find you, all the things.
All social media at Dr. Tana M Session, and also the website, tanamsession.com. If you're interested in learning more about me, my business, partnering with me, that's the best place. And then, again, always Dr. Tana M Session on all social media platforms, especially LinkedIn.
Hey, there you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tana, and thank you everyone for joining this incredible conversation today. I hope you learned a lot like I did, and took notes because this was a lot to learn, And I do feel like you have another book, Dr. Tana. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So, well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you again next week for another episode of Too Ambitious. Thanks, everyone. Bye.